Greetings and welcome to Cooking with Squirrel. If you're new here, I'm the Squirrel. We're back today with another recipe video, and this recipe is another birthday gift. This is for my friend Maggie, who is the fiance of Jason Gilligan, who, if you are a fan of the channel, know is my videographer, sound guy, everything else guy for when I do the food and philanthropy videos. So for her birthday, I asked if she wanted a recipe made and to be fed, and she jumped at the chance. So this recipe, it has 3 sub recipes. One of them is a Chevre that's flavored with roasted garlic and lemon zest. The other is a cooked ssamjang inspired sauce. And then it also has a mushroom medley, which is full of Asian flavors and whichever kind of mushrooms you like. I'm going to do about 4 different kinds today. So let's get into the roasting of the garlic for the Chevre. All right, so we are going to take our garlic, we're going to flip it over on its side, and we're just going to nip the tops of all of our garlic cloves off. We'll keep most of that, and we need to make sure they're kind of opened up a little bit, and you'll see why later. Now we will grab a piece of foil, and we're going to set our garlic in the center. A little oil in there, little sprinkle of salt. And we're going to wrap this up. We're going to keep all the heat inside so it gets nice and tight. Preheat our oven to 400. Grab a sheet tray in case we get a little leakage. And then into the oven. See, we got a little oil leakage there, which is why we use the pan. All right, let's assemble our Chevre. So we have everything ready now. Let's get our nice room temperature goat cheese, aka Chevre. That's in. Let's check out our roasted and cooled garlic. Oh yeah. These are all soft and jammy. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of grab it by the base here. We're going to squeeze them out. Just make sure no peels go in and you're good. Oh yeah. Now the recipe calls for the zest of 3 lemons. These lemons are enormous, so I'm just going to do 2. These are organic because the organic doesn't have any wax on the rind, which makes it a little more pleasant to eat. Let's see how big of a pile we can get here. Ah, it got away from me. There we go. Some black pepper. I like quite a bit. And we'll start with about a teaspoon of salt. Then we'll start mixing and mashing. Which, as you can see, because I let this Chevre get nice and room temperature, is going to be very simple and very easy. And this is my favorite wooden spoon because I made it. Taste for seasoning. Mmm, so good. That's perfect. That's our Chevre done. All right, so I'm gonna prep some scallions. These are used in 2 places in the recipe. So we're gonna do some the greens are gonna be cut on a bias to be used as a garnish, and then the whites will be used as part of the ssamjang sauce. Nip off all the roots. Take off the little bit of funk at the top. Okay, I'm gonna do 1 rough cut to get this started, and then off we go. There's our greens. We'll cook these with the whites. The rest of these are just going to get rough chopped because they're going to get cooked and pureed later. So all right, next we're going to work on our cooked ssamjang inspired sauce. We're going to have some gochujang, doenjang, mirin, some chopped onion, some garlic, some chopped scallion whites, sesame oil, some honey, and it'll be finished with some sesame seeds. So let me go get all this prepped, and then we'll get to cooking this. I've got all of our aromatics in one bowl. They're all going to go in one shot, and I've got everything else in another bowl, and then we'll add in some sesame seeds. All right, oil's coming up to heat. We're going to go ahead and go in with all of our veg, and a pinch of salt to get the juices started. We're only going to cook this until stuff's a little bit tender. We're not trying to brown anything, just soften it up so that it'll blend nicely and add all that flavor into our sauce. Alright, our onions are going translucent. We're going to go ahead and put in our liquids. Doenjang, gochujang, honey, mirin, sesame oil. So let's go in with that. Bring this up to a simmer again. So I feel like everything's really well incorporated now. So a quart container will work. Let's transfer this in. All right, that is about where I want mine. All right, so I'm gonna go in with my sesame seeds. We'll mix those in. So that's our sauce done. Our next sub recipe is the mushroom medley. We're gonna do 4 different kinds of mushrooms. We've got some beach mushrooms, maitake, also known as hen of the woods. We have some snow white mushrooms and some oyster mushrooms. Do a little garlic, a little fresh ginger, some shallots, dark soy, light soy, rice vinegar, mirin, and it's gonna be phenomenal. All right, pan's hot. We're gonna get our mushrooms in. See if we get a nice sizzle. There we go. So I'm just stirring these to coat to make sure that they've all got a little oil on them. Oh my God, these mushrooms smell so good. This is the best dish I've ever created. All right, we can see we're getting some nice browning on these mushrooms now. Add in our ginger, which is here in this bowl. Ginger in. And then our minced shallot. I'm gonna saute that for about 2 minutes. So get that mixed in. Let's go in with our garlic. Get that mixed in, saute for about a minute. Dark soy, light soy, and sesame oil. Okay, we are, so we basically absorbed and cooked out the moisture from the soy sauces. So we're gonna go deglaze this with our mirin and our rice vinegar. Make sure all the flavor goes into the mushrooms. And the acid in here is gonna give us some balance with all these other flavors. A little sweetness from the mirin. All right, I am pleased with these. Get these into a bowl, and that's these done. So I have a sous vide medium rare ribeye steak, and we're just gonna sear it off to prep for the next phase. All right, pan's hot. We're gonna go in with our steak. Lay away. Let's get some weight on this bad boy. Good sear. All right, there is our steak, nicely seared. You'll notice I did not bother searing the fat caps. That's because that will get cooked on the Korean grill later. So we're gonna pull this, let it rest. It's cooked all the way through from the sous vide, but we wanna let it cool down a little bit because we're gonna have to handle it here shortly. Okay, water's boiling. We're gonna go in with our chives. They're only gonna need a few seconds. We just need to get them tender enough to tie into a knot. So there we go. That's it. Right back into the cold. They're now very nice and loose. We can do fun stuff with them. So this dish can be served in one of 2 ways. It can be served in a super fancy way, which looks like this. Or it can be served as Ssam, which are a lettuce wrap with all of the ingredients tucked into the lettuce wrap, and you can put as much or as little or add different ingredients as you like. So our steak's rested. We're going to grab the steak and we're going to trim it up. It will be hard to see with this sear, but there's the cap, and then there's in here, there's a nice big area where it's all just meat. So there's a little bit of stuff we want to cut out here. So we're going to basically square this off. Don't worry, we're not going to waste any of this. And so we've got some gristle in here that we want to cut out. So trim that out. Trim off the cap on this side. And clean this up on this side. So we'll set this up here for the moment. And then I'm going to cut these into bite-sized bits, and these will go for our Ssams later. And they'll get seared again on the Korean-style grill. There's that. Now, we are going to slice this. If you cut these too thick, they'll be very difficult to wrap. Also, the more done you cook this, the more difficult they'll be able to wrap. Set these up in the corner. We're going to grab our chives, 6 of our favorites. You can see how pliable these are now that they've been blanched. And then we're going to go right onto these with our steak. Now we are going to take Chevre filling. I've cooled it a little bit in the freezer. It's not frozen, but it's a little stiffer, so it's a little more conducive to wrapping. If it's too warm, it'll want to squeeze out the top and bottom. Now we roll and tie. So we're going to roll steak. Make sure we get a nice wrap. Make sure everything's tucked in. You can give it a little squish on the bottom there. And if you need to, you can slide this back to center. We're going to take our chive, go up and around. I'm going to tie a simple square knot. There we go. Don't pull too tight or it'll tear on you. And give it a little spin. One more square knot. And there we go. Our cute little steak roulade. The next thing you can do, depending on how long these are, you can trim them off. And there we go. All right, our roulades are all prepped up. So let's plate up this fancy ass dish. So we're gonna go a 6-point formation. So we'll go top and bottom, evenly spaced. All right to me. And we're going to place some of our sauce in the center. And some of our mushroom medley, top of each one. And our previously bias cut green onions. Give that a little sprinkle. And there we go. Let's go see what the birthday girl thinks. Move, dog. Always with the dogs. All right.
Ooh. All right. It's so pretty.
Yes.
There's so much to it. Thank you. It's so good.
All right, so you can see she loved the fancy version of the dish, so now let's see what she thinks of the Ssam version, which is the far more approachable for the average person version. So let's get into that, and I'll see you out at the table. So I'm going to make you a Ssam as in the Korean tradition. I'll put one together, and you can try it. So we'll get a little bit of our Chevre, put that in, and then some mushrooms, a bit of rice, and then we'll do a few scallions. Go meat in, and a little bit of sauce. Fold her up, and we present it.
Thank you.
To the guest.
It's still so good.
It's a little more approachable though, right? Instead of trying to do those roulades at home for a...
Yeah, this I think I could do myself.
Yeah. So you can see Maggie loved her dish, both the fancy and the more approachable version. So yeah, I'd love to see if you give this a try. Tag me on Instagram, Cooking with Squirrl. Do me a favor, if you have any goodness in your life, please try and pay it forward. Go out there and do something nice for somebody else today. And thanks for stopping by.